technology series. We are offering 2 more classes after this one in March and another one in April. And of course, these are free of charge, so tell your friends and hopefully you'll get some really good information. I also want to tell you about the technology labs that we have going. We actually are offering this class. We have it live streamed over at Empower in Chisago, at the Lindstrom Senior Center in Lindstrom, and down at the Taylors Falls City Hall. So there's others that are joining you for this class today. And then at all 4 of those sites, we're offering technology labs, and that's a time where you can bring in your tablet or your laptop or your smartphone and get some help from a friendly volunteer. We got some great volunteers that have really been helping a lot of people. So grab this flyer, check out the dates. You can go to any of these 4 sites. You don't have to live at the Lindstrom Senior Living to attend the lab at that place, and you can always come here or Empower or the City Hall in Taylors Falls. And this is all made possible by a grant through the Blandin Foundation. So we're happy to have the grant monies coming into our community for great programs like this. So thanks for coming. I just want to introduce our instructor today, Matt Sonnentag.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Betsy. As Betsy said, my name is Matt Sonnentag, and I'm the founder of the Bitworks. We're a computer shop, and we have locations in Taylors Falls and Forest Lake. We've been around for a while, and we do work for residential customers as well as business customers, and we do work on site and then in our shops, and then we also do remote support so we can help you out over the internet as well. So if you get into trouble, we're the computer guys. I've been in this business about 30 years now. Originally from a small town south of here, which is famous for its cheese curds. And part of this is cheese curds. So I graduated a long time ago from the UW Eau Claire with a degree in management information systems, and so I've been kind of in the business since then. I started the Bitworks in 1999, and then we kind of went out on my own in 2005, and we've been growing ever since. So today's class is don't click that. What not to click on the internet. And so we're going to get started with some of those things that you shouldn't click on and that sort of thing. But we're going to go into a little bigger discussion here about what these nasty things you get on the internet are. And so really, when you get these things on the internet, you become a victim of cybercrime. And I have customers come in all of the time, and they're feeling ashamed, or I really feel bad. I clicked on this, or I wasn't more prepared, and there's no shame in it. I mean, it's easy to trick people. I get tricked. There are ways to prevent that from happening, and there are safeguards that we can put in place so it doesn't happen to us. But even then, there's still me, and I'm always the last defense when it comes to security. In my own life, and I'm 100%, I can agree with there was a sucker born every minute statement, because I'm that sucker at least a few minutes every once in a while. So it's terribly hard to tell you what specifically not to click on. I'm going to give you some general ideas. We could probably make a list today and get all of the most current things today, but then it'll change tomorrow because the scammers keep on moving around, and it's hard to keep up in front of them. But I'm going to give you some of the an outline of the general framework they try to use when they're trying to get into people's computers, etc. My goal today is to make you a little more aware of what could be happening out there, and just let you know if it seems to be following this pattern, it could be something you want to keep an eye on in the future. Almost all crime today has some sort of a technology element to it. Somebody robbing a store, they're calling their buddy on their cell phone for a getaway. And I mean, that's all that technology is there today that they didn't have 30 years ago. You know, he had to go find a payphone to call his buddy. And then he had to come from home or wherever he was at. So that's how technology has changed and has made things happen faster and everything else. We're going to go through a little agenda today. But I want you to know, just in the time that it's taken me to tell you a little bit here in this introductory slide, that worldwide, about $10 million has been lost to cybercrime. So that's about how fast money gets taken from people. So today's agenda, we're going to go through some statistics and definitions. So we're all on the same page and you kind of know what I'm talking about. If I get to a term and you don't know what I'm saying or understand it, please raise your hand and then we'll try to answer it. So we're going to go through some of that. And then second, we're going to walk through some of these scams, the most common ones and the most common ones I see, so that I can help you recognize those. And next, like a very good teacher, I've got a movie. So it's always great to have a movie in the middle of class. Right? It's only like 2 minutes long, but we're going to watch a movie. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the process of what can I do to prevent some of this stuff from happening to me? And then what do we do if something does happen? And so that's usually the question that we end up with a lot of times, and we try our best to counsel people through that. But first, let's start out with what is cybercrime? Cybercrime is any kind of a crime where the device itself is the object of the crime. So if you get malware or a virus on your computer, that's a cybercrime. Somebody's damaged your equipment, and it will cost you money to get it fixed. And it probably cost you some time or convenience, at the very least, in getting it there. And the other type of cybercrime is any time that one of these computing devices or the internet is used to commit an offense. And so that really broadens what cybercrime is. So there's a lot of stuff that happens on the internet now. And the other thing that people don't think about in terms of internet crime are these things called IoT, or Internet of Things. So in that case, we're talking about these smart light bulbs and thermostats that tell you the daily weather. All of those things communicate onto the internet, and they all are vehicles where a scammer can get in. Alexa is another big one. I mean, that's a thing that's on the internet. Who are the victims of all of this? There are a lot of people. You see here about 45% of all of the attacks out there on the internet are against little businesses like mine and a lot of the businesses around here. So you can guess that in any couple of years that somebody's had some sort of an incident where they couldn't get out to the internet or their website was unavailable, those sorts of things. And those happen to lots of businesses. In respect to the 50-plus crowd, which I'm a part of, in the year 2020, we as a collective group lost $1.8 billion to cybercrime. And if you take and this is in the United States, but if you take that and divide it out by the number of people scammed, it's about $9,500 per incident. So about 10 grand is the average cost of some of these cybercrimes. So the number one scam that we've seen in 2020 is the tech support scam. And so I'm going to kind of outline that for you today, because that's what I see probably the most, because I'm the computer guy. Where do you bring it after they've said you had a problem and then you've become a victim? The number one, there's actually number one and number two reasons these crimes go unreported. One, people think it's too trivial. It's just, well, I'm online, that's what happens. Or they become really embarrassed because they kind of got took a little bit. So there are some other scams that are way up there in terms of prevalence as well. One of those is extortion, especially 50 and over, and specifically what they call sextortion. Basically what happens is this is a webcam attack. They'll take a picture of you behind, looking at your computer because they've hacked in and gotten they've gotten access to your webcam, but two, they got access to all your Outlook contacts. And they take a picture of you, and then they will send you a picture of what they claim you were watching at the time. And then they say that unless you send us some money, we're going to send this out to your Outlook contact list, like these people, and they'll list all the people. And that was a very successful scam a few years ago. Very quickly, we taught people to put tape over those cameras, so that helps a lot. But in these days, when you're wanting to Zoom all the time, it becomes a little harder to do that. But we do have little things now that slide back and forth, so you can manually make sure that camera's not operating. Non-payment or non-delivery scam, you order something, you buy something on the internet and it just doesn't show up and you lose the money. That's another big one. And then identity theft is another big one among the 50 plus group. And when we talk about cybersecurity and people getting their companies hacked into and your email addresses lost and all of that good stuff, 95% of that is actually caused by human error. Somebody left something open, somebody didn't do something, somebody turned something off. Or they just, there was just a new opportunity to do something. Again, some more stuff. 85% of cybercrime goes unreported. So the statistics that I'm giving you are probably off by about 80%. There's probably 80% more people. Many people are just too embarrassed or they don't know how to report it. And I'm going to show you how to report it today so that it actually gets accounted for. And maybe something gets done about it as well. It's also unfortunate that most of us know somebody who's been scammed in the past. There are a lot of people out there. So most of you will know a victim of cybercrime. Of all the crimes that happen, 75% of these somehow involve a phone call. And the reason is that these people are con people. They're con men or whatever, And they want to work the con. They want to talk to you and they want to convince you that they're doing well because that will get them more money. And then the other unfortunate thing is there are 1,542 people in 2020 in Minnesota over the age of 60 that were scammed, reported a cybercrime of some sort. So what are the most common cybercrimes? First one, phishing. You'll get emails that claim your password is expiring, please enter your password, and it's a fake site. We see a lot of those. Harassment and extortion are out there. And that includes this sextortion thing. It also includes a lot of blackmail and slander and those sorts of things. The people who are the victims of this tend to be either over 60 or under 20. So you see a lot of teenagers dealing with this harassment issue as well. Ransomware, where your data and stuff is encrypted, so you can't get to it unless you pay for their key. And then, of course, the oldest profession is already on the internet. It's been there for some time. And those ads show up out on Craigslist and all kinds of these community sale boards and everything else. So, and then, of course, child pornography and solicitations out there as well. Property theft is huge on the internet, and mostly what it is people wanting to download free software, free books, free movies, and when you get involved with that, there's a good chance you're also going to pick up some sort of malware or some sort of other software that's going to cause you a problem. Identity theft is another type of common cybercrime. There's what we call account or device hacking, and that would be where you got some sort of a malware on your phone. It really doesn't do anything until the criminal sets it off, and then your phone tries to block the White House from getting any kind of traffic in and out of it. So because they have control over that. That's when my phone or my computer has become a bot, and they talk about these botnets, and you could be part of that botnet. So drug trafficking and credit card fraud are also huge on the internet. About 35% of all of the drug revenue passes over the internet, and most of it is cryptocurrency now, large majority of it. So what do these criminals use to do this? The four big things here: malware, are things that make your computer not behave normally. They thwart the function, they thwart the security, they allow somebody else to get control of it. 95% of that is delivered via email. So you'll get an email with a link in it, say, download this quick. And you go there and you either follow the link and they download something, or there's something actually in the email itself. It's one of the reasons we caution people to stay away from some of the smaller free email providers. Sometimes they have a trouble filtering those things out, and a lot of stuff will come in there. If you've got any kind of a mobile device, if you've got an Apple device, you're in good luck, because 98% of the targeted mobile devices are Android devices. So if you're an Apple person, you're probably having a little better luck. However, in terms of the Mac computer, attacks are up 165% from previous years. So these criminals are figuring out ways to get into that stuff. In ransomware, again, that's where the tool is to encrypt your hard drive, and then you can't get your pictures back, you can't get your documents, can't get into your checkbook, all of that good stuff. 40% of the people actually pay that ransom. So that's the statistic that I have, is 40% of them pay that. And then I heard another statistic, but I couldn't corroborate it anywhere, is that only 30% of those people that actually pay it actually get their information back. A denial of service attack is really where the goal is to keep a computer, a server, or whatever so busy that it can't offer whatever service it does. So you can't, they're pinging on your cell phone so bad you can't make a call, or they're pinging on your computer so bad it can't make a call. The other thing they'll do is use these computers, so they have thousands of them that will attack a central site, and they'll all try to access it at the same time, and that site just falls down and it can't do anything anymore. It's called a denial of service attack. Most of the time, and you'll probably hear about these over the next few days, because the big actors in these are states and countries. So you'll hear a lot about this over the next few days, probably. So the goal here is not just to take these things down, but it's to do one of two things. One, you either make them so slow that they can't accomplish some of their other security functions, and then you can sneak in and get into them and take control. Or you have whoever's running that panic and trying to get rid of this thing will take down some of their security and then forget to turn it back on, or leave a hole so that they can get into it. So, and then there's other outright infiltration of websites, and this is typically done because these sites don't get updated, or because there's a certain type of security or software on them that people know a hole, and it just doesn't get fixed right away. And then they're in there, and all of a sudden your website is advertising something else. And I have a question from Betsy.
Yeah, I have a question coming from one of the other sites.
Okay.
So we're stepping back just a little bit, but what would be a good definition of phishing?
Okay, so the question is, what would be a good definition of phishing? And phishing is when you receive some sort of a request from somebody for credentials or valuable information, and they're trying to trick you into doing it. So for example, I might get an email message saying it's time to reset your Microsoft password. And that email message it looks internally, it appears as if it comes from Microsoft, but when you go ahead and click on it, suddenly it looks a little different. Something is spelled wrong, it just doesn't look right, or the address at the very top of the address bar, it does not say Microsoft, it says somebody else. That's an attempt at phishing. So they're trying to gather your password or whatever, because the chances are, and the way that it works is you'd click on the link, you'd enter your username for Microsoft and say, enter your current password, and you type it in, and now the scammer has got it. So, and you'll go ahead and actually change it and think that it's changed, and then later when you try to get into Microsoft, that new password doesn't work, and you have to go back to the old one, and sure enough, it works. So somebody's captured your information there. So, and it gets way more sophisticated than that as well. So people fish for lots of stuff. As I said earlier, this is not just your PC. Just about everything is connected to the internet right now. You know, your light bulbs, your refrigerators, washing machines, all that stuff talks out on the internet, and it's great. One of the problems with a lot of this stuff is the security is a lot less sophisticated. And so it's generally real easy to, they design this stuff to be easy to set up and easy for everybody to access because they want to sell a lot. And so security is not always a top concern there. And a lot of it use a set it and forget it network. So you just set it up and you forget about it. You don't forget about, maybe I should update this software and this thermostat every once in a while because it's been here for 9 years now. And maybe somebody's getting in through it. And a good example of this is, I think you've heard a few years ago about the folks who had the baby cam, and it was at the crib, and somebody is actually in on the camera talking to their child in the middle of the night. So, and it's, they've gotten into the camera. Same is true of the Ring doorbell. That was another one that was hacked into. There was another attack on a corporate network that actually came in through some sort of a monitor on a fish tank. So, in the lobby. That's how they managed to gain access. So it's tough to watch this sort of stuff. One of the big problems is they never get updated and nobody ever changes the default password. So they put these things out on the internet, the default password on the light bulb is light or something like that, and you can look this up on the internet and find the passwords. So, and most of the time these things get used in another sort of attack, so they're a step in more than anything else. So now the question is, where do you pick all this stuff up? And so where do you get all of this stuff? And I think you've probably seen stuff that's similar to this. And in the business, we call this clickbait. It's ads, stories, whatever, designed to get you to click on it. And they tend to, this stuff tends to show up related to what you're interested in. And the issue with these is generally not the article itself, that you're going to see here. So we will probably find out eventually what the #1 worst carb is. But the issue becomes the ads and the other stuff that's displayed along with this. Because these authors write these articles to make money, and they make money with ad revenue. Unfortunately, they don't police the ads that are out there many times. So I see more people come in with cell phones with a problem because they've been on Facebook and they kind of followed the chain out, and all of a sudden it says, click OK, otherwise we're going to do this to your computer, and I'll tell you how to fix that in a little bit. That's basically how this works. So now, even in the case of the bigger advertisers like Microsoft and Google, they sometimes will still get scammed or taken. You can place an ad out on Microsoft's MSNBC for your product, and then later switch that website out, and suddenly you're distributing malware. If that's your end goal. And if I remember back to one of the first instances as a company where we actually did a lot of cleanup, it was like in 2007, 2008, we had a number of people all coming in with viruses and everything else, and we kind of narrowed it down to the Star Tribune website. And they'd had advertising on the side of the page that downloaded a virus onto the computers. And they were no longer able to boot. So that's where we see lots of this stuff coming from, is these ads that are out there on the internet. More rarely is there something called a drive-by download, where you actually just log in, you open up a site, and the first thing it does is download a piece of software to your computer. This can also happen in stages, so you'll see one piece of it come down with this website, another piece come down with this website, and then suddenly you've got a whole trove of tools that a hacker can use on your PC. The other one is, place we see stuff coming in are these emails. Here's a good example. This particular one, says it comes from Shaw Communications, but the email address seems to indicate it's coming from bestcookies.biz. That's always a good indication, if it says it's coming from Matt Sonnentag, but it's really out here and it's coming from XYZ company, sales at XYZ company, that's not me, that's not my address. So People will click on this even though they don't have voicemail to email translation. We see this all the time. The other thing that'll happen a lot here is you'll see other website addresses that show up in these emails that just don't match with the rest of the email. And then many times when you go to try to download this, it won't work, and you'll need to download some sort of free viewer or free player in order to actually use it. And that stuff actually will come along with an agreement that you're agreeing to. You're checking the little boxes, you know, in the privacy agreement when the software installs, and you're not reading it like every other piece of software that nobody reads. And you're realizing that you're allowing them to track your computer and that you're going to let them put this other stuff on. And they'll tell you right in the privacy agreement what they're putting on there. These are both tech support scam examples. There are hundreds of these out there, different ones. The one on the left would be a PC. You would see this on a PC. And on the right, you'd typically see this on your phone. There's a simple way to get rid of these. Turn off your computer. Just hit the power. Turn off your phone, restart it. And it's gone. Nothing has happened as long as you haven't done anything here. If you click OK, you will get a download on your phone that will probably break it, and we'll have to reload it. If you call the number, you will certainly get hacked into and taken advantage of. And I'll kind of go through what happens when you call in the next few slides here. One, you call the number. You're going to get somebody who responds to you. This is XYZ Technical Company. WCB, we cheat you big. It's a tech company. And you'll probably notice a foreign accent, but not always. What we've seen in the past is that you call this number and you get some sort of a response center person who speaks very, very good English, is very personable, and they are going to transfer you to a technician. And usually that technician is somebody you won't understand or not understand a whole lot of. But they'll ask for the address that's displayed on the previous screen. There'll be some sort of a number or an address there that they want to know about. And then they'll be able to tell you instructions on how to hop outside of that screen and download software so that they can access and fix your computer, because it's, of course, got a virus. You will do that, and they will actually use the same software that I use in my legitimate business to connect to you and fix your computer. Because it's very powerful and allows them to deploy tools right away and get all kinds of information from you. So, and the good scammers will also chat you up at the same time. They're going to want to know about your dogs, your cats, their names, because your dog and cat name, what's the first car you ever drove? That sort of thing. They also want all of these. They're trying to answer security questions is what they're trying to do, and gather information. While this is all happening, though, one of the things they're going to ask you is, one, your name and your cell phone number in case they get disconnected from you, of course. And they'll also ask for your username and password that pops up when you turn on your machine. And you will give it to them because we might get disconnected, or I might have to restart your computer and log back in again, and I want to make sure the virus is gone. If you don't use a username and password, they know that too. They say, okay, and then the next step when they get connected is they put one on for you. So at this point, the scammer has lots of information, and the next thing they do is they will connect up to your computer, and they will run a series of commands, and they will start downloading information from your computer. There's only a few bits and pieces that they need. One, they will download your Chrome browser profile, and your Firefox browser profile, and your Safari profile, and your Internet Bing profile, because they're hoping you stored your passwords in there to all the websites. Because once they have that username and password and that information, they can install this on another computer and simply look at your passwords. So they get your passwords to your bank, everything else. It's real easy to do. It takes just a few seconds to download that. They'll also download any kind of a contact list that you might have in your Outlook program or your mail program. They'll get all of that information right away. So They'll probably install some sort of a hidden user ID so that they can put software on and off your computer later. Because many of the times when we see these things come in, they will have some sort of a remote connection there that monitors them so that the scammer can get back in later. So, and then of course, they're gonna find lots more problems than whatever you had originally heard about. At some point, they're gonna charge you, usually on your credit card, or in a lot of places will take, what's even more desirable is to get the routing number and your account number off your check. So then they'll drain that right now, so that'll be gone in many cases. But in any case, you'll be charged by the scammer for your repair, usually way overcharged. They make more money than I do on cleaning up computers. But rest assured, the call will end, but it'll be back tomorrow because they'll keep calling back. So, and many times we've had people who've had to block numbers on landlines or just to keep them from calling back because they continually call back. We help you through that process when you come in and see us, and then we're going to talk a little bit about what we do to help you go through that. So, but some other common types of cybercrime, online shopping scams. Basically, you buy something and it doesn't show, or you pay some sort of extra fee to get it. These folks try to avoid having you pay with a credit card or PayPal or anything like that because those companies will refund your money and they will get this away from these people. But they try more often to get things like Amazon cards or a Western Union card or a debit card that can't be traced. So once they get those numbers, they can use those for other transactions right away and get your money, and you never can get it back. Any kind of cryptocurrency, of course, is just don't even use that to buy anything, at least at this day and age. Most of these schemes seem to be too good to be true. A lot of them will have a strange website address that goes along with it. So instead of ebay.com, it might be eboy.com or something just a little bit different that they've registered. And so they'll try to get your money back or try to get you to go there. Also, watch for misused or misspelled words on these shopping sites. If they've misspelled something, they want people who don't notice that because you're not paying attention to what you're doing. So if you see misspelled words, a reputable reseller will always spell things correctly on their website, almost always. So again, gift cards bad, cryptocurrency bad. Charity scams, somebody calls and they ask you to donate to a charity and they don't have any specific purpose or it seems kind of sketchy. Don't donate to them because it's usually, if they don't have anything specifically that they're raising money for or that they're soliciting money for, don't respond to it. I hate to tell everybody this. There is no Sheriff's Deputies Association. There is no Police Benevolent Association. Those are all scams. I get the calls all the time, and every last one of them is a scam. They don't raise money that way. There's no officers' retirement fund or anything else. Other things to watch out for here are GoFundMe pages. You know, oftentimes you'll see some of these things and they're really heartfelt stories and everything else, but in truth, the kid died 12 years ago or, you know, is long since recovered and is leading a life somewhere else, but it's a good story, so they're using it and they're getting money off of that. There's always pressure in these things to donate today. You know, they want you to fix something to do it today, to do it right now. And they also solicit donations of cash, gift cards, and wire transfers, those sorts of things that are harder to trace and harder to reverse. One that we've heard of lately is people calling up saying, you know, thank you for donating my charity last year, but you never donated, and you can't remember donating, and in hopes that you're going to donate again. Or they'll call up and say, you donated to us, but the check didn't go through, or we never received payment, or that sort of thing. The next one is romance scams, and this is, you know, nationally, the #1 scam for people over 60. So, and it's the highest money loser of everything. It's by far just huge. And it's because people are lonely. I mean, then that's what people prey on. Most of these show up on social media dating sites. That's where people get led into these. They might also be an unsolicited text message that comes in. Most always, they want to get you off the dating site or the social media site and onto a text message right away, because then there's no policing of it. Because many of those platforms will actually police those conversations and know what's going on. So they want you texting, they want to get you texting as soon as they can. They're again looking for money, and they're in love within a couple of days. I mean, it's so fast.
Oh, Matt, we love you.
Oh, I know you do.
What's your PIN number?
Yeah. I have a gift card. Of course, they can't meet because there's always a problem and they need a gift card or a Western Union transfer or something like that in order to get their car fixed to come see you. And we have a question.
So, Matt, if you get a text that you don't recognize, or, because it's basically a phone number, an area code and whatnot, if you click on that, do they basically have your address and everything, or?
No, they should not. So the question is, if I get just an unsolicited text message with a phone number or maybe a message or something in there and you look at it, do they receive anything? The most they would get was that it was read. So they would know it was read. There may be ways to do that with some of these alternate platforms like WhatsApp and those sorts of things.
If there was a link on that text that if you clicked on that, then you'd probably.
And certainly, so the question is, if there's a link on that text, yes, they would probably know at least your internet address. So they'd be able to trace that down. So, and they'd know as well that you clicked on it. The final type of scam is the imposter scam. The tech support scam I told you all about is an imposter scam. They're posing as tech support folks. And they probably have some skills in that area as well, but they're using that for no good. The other big one that shows up here is the grandparent scam, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. We see people who get taken around times that there's a funeral in the family, usually because the obituary, states a lot of information, including who's going to be there. And, you hear about houses being robbed. Well, people are at a funeral. But there are also lots of scams that start to pop up related to those obituaries as well, where people will potentially contact potential heirs and have some, secret cash or partnership with the deceased person that nobody else knew about, but now I know you, and I called you out of the blue, and I'm going to scam you at some point. I'm going to want some gift cards. So there's fake contests, lottery prizes are all in there. These calls always happen in the middle of the night too, it seems like, or some weird time. Again, what characterizes these things, if it's always a scam, one, it's an unexpected message. It comes in the middle of the night, out of the blue, somebody you don't know. The request is always super urgent. So, and it sounds, person sounds desperate. They sound like they need help. It's an out-of-character ask. So I text Jack later and tell him, I got a flat tire, Jack. Need a gift card. And so it's going to cost you something. So there's always an out-of-character ask at the end of it. Something that this person has not asked you for before. So it's something that you're going to get from before. So now I promised you all a movie. So
your granddaughter has been incarcerated in a foreign jail. She has provided your number as a family representative to pay her bail. The only form of payment we accept is gift cards.
I understand. I got the gift cards. Now give me back my granddaughter.
So that is from a place called Scam Spotter. It's one of the places that I'm going to recommend you go to and check out later, because there's other videos there that are even better. Wait till the IRS wants your money. So I'll let you guys look at that one offline, but scamspotter.org, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that organization as well here in a few minutes. So what else can you do to keep this stuff from happening to you? One, keep your systems up to date. And that includes your cell phones and your computers. Run the updates that the manufacturer sends out, because those are the things that happen there. We've talked about some of these before in previous classes, but use strong passwords. I mean, things that people don't guess, and use something called multi-factor authentication. Here's the worst password list in the world. These are all things that I don't know why these words are here, but if you're using this password, you should probably change it somewhere. So, best password advice, make your password a phrase. Community education rocks. Then you can add a big C, a zero, and an exclamation point at the end. Use a password manager. So there are a lot of these out here. LastPass is one. 1Password, Bitwarden. Those are all good ones to use. And they generate passwords for you. And they keep these cryptic passwords, and they kind of work with your browser. So you only have to log in once. So you have one really strong password that you know that's not something easy to guess. And then that'll provide the keys to all the other ones. So, but you never want to give that out except to your heirs. Make sure nobody ever finds that one out. So. One thing that I did want to tell everybody about, because we talked about this multi-factor or two-factor authentication earlier, and we talked about how Facebook does that, and a lot of banks do that. Microsoft does that with their mail program, that sort of thing. There's also a directory out on the internet that I've found. It's called 2FA Directory. And so if you're wondering, does my sports betting place do this? Well, maybe they do. You can go click in here, and it'll give you a list of all of this stuff, and it'll give you a link right to where you can set it up for that website. The other thing it'll tell you as well is who doesn't have it, and you'd be surprised how many banks don't have it. And then you can contact them via Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever. They'll have a link on there to contact them and complain. And I complained about my bank the other day in there, so, and the fact that they didn't have it. And they sent me a Facebook message right back saying, we're working on it now. We'll have it out in a couple of weeks. So companies listen to this sort of stuff. And there's a huge number of these out here. There's email providers. So just do a Google search for 2FA Directory. That's one of the things that you can do to use this multi-factor authentication on your phone or whatever. What else can you do? Use a good, not free, computer security system. That should include antivirus or anti-malware. Those are the things you usually get for free, is just that little piece. But also a good firewall, intrusion detection, and a website monitor. And you'll see down here, I got this little website blocked message. This is what I use for my security on my computers. And we put this on a lot of customer computers as well. If you try to go to a web page which has been compromised or might be distributing malware, it will block you from going there. Now, I have people call me up and ask to go to these places too, but we try to talk them out of it, or at least figure out what might be happening. But in general, that will help you out immensely and keep you from getting some sort of a virus or something on your computer. Secure Together, another Google search you can do, and I believe this is with Trend Microsystems in a partnership with a computer or cybercrime network security organization that put out the Scam Spotter. They are a sort of a security education technology firm. It's a nonprofit. I think you end up getting a free antivirus security system out of that if you sign up. And so they have these little groups, and you kind of do a competition. So good thing for this group here in Chisago Lakes to do. Maybe I'll sign up and get And there's a lot of training as well in there, so you're spotting the scams and all of that stuff. There are a lot of packages out here that offer all of the things that we're suggesting here, McAfee, Norton, Trend Micro, and a lot of other vendors do that, but it's always the paid package. It's never the free one. Generally, these free packages last for 30 days and then poof, they stop. So, Betsy, you had a question.
How much do you typically have to pay for a subscription or whatever?
Okay, so the question was, how much do you typically have to pay for a subscription to this? I know that these run from about $50 to $100 a year. So somewhere in there, you're probably in the $50 range as for most of the reputable companies. So you can buy additional things too that give you all kinds of bells and whistles, but sometimes they slow down the computers as well. So that's one thing we kind of encourage with people. Finally, the next thing is, and this is also from Scam Spotter, is practice the 3 S's. 1, slow down. Scammers want to create a sense of urgency. Your daughter's in jail. You want to get this taken care of right now, and it bypasses your better instincts. Your second, take a second look at some of this stuff. 2, do a spot check. Do some research on these people, whoever's calling. If it's a call from a bank saying, your account's been compromised or whatever, hang up, call them back at the number you know, because they can fake the caller ID information that's coming into you, make it look like it's them. And then, stop, don't send. Nobody ever demands payment on the spot for this information. So, and especially no gift card, no gift cards. So the payment method feels fishy, it probably is. So, if there's something that just doesn't seem right about it. Scamspotter.org, that website I mentioned earlier, you can go there and take quizzes and they'll walk you through scenarios. Is it a scam or isn't it? So you can get a little practice there. A lot more videos as well. So, what do you do if you get rolled up into something and it's halfway going? Obviously tech support scam, come and see me, we'll help you through that. Other places you can go. AARP has a reporting spot out there for scams and that sort of thing. And you can also get a little counseling out of them on how to get out of some of this stuff. They'll give you some guidance on that. Call 211 on your phone. And 211 puts you in contact with a lot of your county health agencies and all of that other stuff. But those folks are also trained on what to do if you've stumbled into a tech support scam. And they should be, what they will do is actually take you to the fraudsupport.org or cybercrime.org and walk you through the steps there that are used to recover. Now, if you've been involved in, they also have some services if you ever get involved in one of these romance scams or something like that, something big dollar. And they have other health professionals that they can put you in touch with there that kind of help you out, especially if you're a caregiver and you've discovered some of this has happened. In my own family, I know people that have lost thousands to gambling issues and everything else, and this is a way to combat some of that. Fraudsupport.org is a place that we use. When you go there, it'll ask you, are you a business or an individual? And if you click on individual, it'll say, what did you get involved in? And you click on it, and it kind of walks you through a little tree and tells you how to resolve it, who to call, gives you the numbers, and everything else. So what passwords to change, and all of that good stuff. So it's a very good thing to help with the recovery. I can fix your computer, but I don't always remember to tell you to go change your Visa card password or Visa account password. And then finally, the Internet Crime Complaint Center is a website that's published by the FBI, and that's where all of the statistics I gave you here today, they all come from there. This has actually been in business for about 20 years now. So you can submit an internet crime complaint up here, and we encourage people to do this. They will review that, And if if it floats to local law enforcement, they generally will contact those folks and get them involved, or they'll forward on the report. What you get benefit out of here is if they see 600 or 700 of the same scam, they are more likely to investigate it. Now, they're not Johnny on the spot. You know, we see stuff coming in now, especially with like ransomware. They will oftentimes catch those people eventually, and then they'll get a code to decrypt all of the hard drives that they've ever encrypted. And so we've seen them come back 3 and 4 years later. So if you ever are a victim of ransomware, hold on to that drive, because sometimes we can get that back, but it might be a couple of years. And the FBI does those investigations. And you hear of people that they bust on a fairly frequent basis. I mean, they find these networks of people, and it's because people have reported this. The other thing that this does is if we have accurate information out there, a lot of these organizations can get the funding and the resources they need, especially law enforcement. I know it's been a huge deal for some of our local law enforcement getting up to speed and getting trained on this. You need to hire a technology person and everything else to be able to make it happen. The FBI won't fix your computer. You might not get an update, but at least you'll get some satisfaction of being able to tell somebody and getting the numbers recorded. So that's the end of our talk today. So, any questions? So,
Matt?
Yes, Jack.
I thought I heard something about this two-factor authentication being scammed now.
Yes, there are ways that scammers are getting past two-factor authentication. And I was going to tell you the dog story, and I forgot about the dog story. So now this is where I'm going to tell you about how they've scammed two-factor authentication. So you lose Fido. Fido is lost. You put up a sign. Reward, $100 for Fido. And you post it on social media, and it spreads far and wide. There's a reward for Fido. And you get a call or contact via personal messenger. And they say, I think we found Fido. But I got to be sure that you're the real owner. So I'm going to text you a code. Very often that code is being texted to you by your bank. And it's your two-factor authentication, because that's one of the ways that two-factor authentication works, is the bank will text you a code to your phone when you try to log in. And so that's a scam that we've seen out there in the past. So people have learned to defeat it that way. And the other thing that they can do is, if they get past, somehow get a hold of your phone, they can a lot of times use the application that's on your phone to defeat that as well. So, and I'm sure there are a dozen other schemes that are out there, but that's how two-factor authentication can be defeated as well, is they trick you into giving out the codes and the account numbers that they're trying to log into. Our banks are really quickly getting attuned to this, and so now when they send out the text messages with the code, they generally identify themselves. So I logged into US Bank the other day, and it said, this is from US Bank. Do not give this code to anybody. Use it to log in. So, so that's how that works. So, but. A question?
It's not a question, but I just wanted to mention several years ago I had friends that were going to Europe, and they were taking their 2 sons and their families. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have my iPad yet, I just had my computer. Mm-hmm. And I received a call from a friend, and she said, have you been in your email this morning? And I said, no, why? And she said, well, go in there right away, because Rowena and Clint are in trouble. And they're requesting, they need $10,000. And so I went in, but it was just like you were talking about. There was misspelling. Yep. They were using our friend's formal name, which he never uses. Mm-hmm. I said, Barb, a couple things, and I mentioned what you just said. I said, everything's misspelled. But I said, they haven't even left yet. Yeah. I said, they're not leaving till 1:30. What happened was somehow, and they weren't sure how it happened, but they got into their computer, and also the computer of their 2 sons. And so the only thing they could do is leave a message on their phone saying, there's a scam, we're okay. If you get this information, don't send any money.
Yeah, I mean, these scams have been floating around for years, and many of the scams that I have talked about here today have not only been floating around for years while there have been computers, they were around long before that, and they came out through the post office. You would get these in the postal mail. And even before everybody had telephone service, you would get a letter from the Benevolent Association asking for money, and it was usually to somebody else's benevolence, I guess. But those sorts of things have been around forever, and it's just replays on the same sort of scams, the same con men.
But I'm getting a lot of, not the emails, I'm getting a lot of phone calls.
Yes, phone calls are really
This kind of
bad.
thing. And they sound extremely professional.
Oh, yes.
And I have caller ID, and if I don't recognize the name, I just don't pick it up.
Yeah, so,
But I got one from, I was working that day, and it was recently, it was from the Social Security office.
yes.
And the lady was from, can't remember what division. But anyway, she gave her title, she gave her phone number, I mean, and I didn't respond, but I mean, she was just, it was some kind of a crime division.
Yep.
And we need to talk to you right away.
Oh,
I
yes.
called twice within 2 hours, and I wasn't home either time, but they just sound very, very professional.
Oh, yes. And my guess is that if you looked up the Social Security number or the actual number of the Social Security Administration and called it, there would be, the person doesn't exist here, or they're not affiliated with us whatsoever. So, but it's a very common scam, the Social Security scam. Yes?
Well, I just got called the other day. I've already won the Publishers Clearinghouse.
Well, I want a gift card.
I know. So,
But with that one, I had a friend just a couple years ago that they called, and they said that they didn't win the jackpot, but they won $2,500.
Oh, yes.
And they wanted to put it directly into their account. And she did give her the number, she did give her the account number. And what they had then, when she got her, she doesn't use the internet, and so she didn't check her balance or anything. But when she got her statement, she could see that somebody had tried to get in there. She called the bank right away, they had her come in. She didn't have that kind of money in her account, but had she had it, they would have taken it.
Oh, yeah.
They
Yeah.
wouldn't-
It's
they
very
would-
common.
Yeah, they would
very
have paid
common.
for the $2,500. And they felt horrible because she said, I just feel so stupid.
Well, and it's people. It's easy to fall for these scams. That's why we have this class. That's why we have folks out here, and it's good to hear it again. You'll all be super sleuths after you get together on the Secure Together app. Yes, you have to get in one time. So, but they very oftentimes will prey repeatedly on the same people.
yeah,
So we've seen that.
pretty repeatedly. We only have to make one mistake and we're in trouble.
Yes. So very oftentimes we'll see the same person go through multiple issues just because they've been identified as a target. So.
So Matt would like to thank you all by giving you a gift card. Let's hear it for Matt, our speaker today.